Welcome back to Everything Goes. We here with another segment for you guys this week. What was the most impressive team during week 1? I'm here in studio with my man E, so I'm gonna let him take it from here.
I see 3 hold it down. I feel like to the eye test, numbers may not tell it score-wise, box score, but I feel like to the eye test, the Texans had the most impressive week 1.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to the Texans because they started off the game losing. They got a field goal first, and then the coach scored, and CJ never looked deterred or like he was down, like he felt like he didn't believe that they could win. If you look at the stats across the board, like CJ played a solid game. He was able to utilize his feet to extend some plays, but standing in the pocket, still completing passes from a quarterback perspective. I'm not gonna lie, what Joe Mixon did is just 1 week, but I didn't expect to see that at all. I'm not saying that I thought that he was at the end of his career.
I did too. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I thought he was closer to it than I didn't expect
30
to
carries,
see that from Joe
160?
Mixon either. No.
I'm like, come on, bro. If this is what he doing, then I feel like the passing attack. If you look at it, even though Stephon has 6 receptions, 33 yards. Tank Dell still had more yards, and Nico had the same amount of receptions for 117 yards. So it's like his weapons from last year still seem comfortable in the system in terms of targets, in terms of receptions. Stephon still was incorporated into the team, and he caught the 2 touchdowns that CJ threw. But Joe Mixon also solidified himself as, if I open up the the rushing game, then everything else flows from there. I feel like the way that the defense played in big moments when Indianapolis scored. They tried to go for 2. The defense, stopped that.
Stopped them.
They started off slow in the second half. They got the field goal, but then in the fourth quarter, they got the 2 touchdowns. And so it was like every time, I feel like the Colts gave them something, because the Colts didn't play a pretty game. Like on paper, the game is not pretty. If you look at it, the quarterback ran for more yards than their running back. He only completed 9 passing attempts. The Michael Pittman, there's four receptions, but he had 8 targets, and that's 31 yards. Alec Pierce, he caught 3 bombs. So it's like that's who was leading in reception yards. They didn't play a pretty game at all, but they put up 27 points. And amidst all of that, Houston had an answer for everything that they did. So
got you. So before I get mine, only thing I would say about yours, they definitely look good. They look impressive the way everybody came together, the way they put everything together. Only thing I would say is you gotta also look at who they played. I did. Now, my pick was for the Texans to win that game, but then the more I thought about it, it was more so a 50-50 game in my head.
Right.
So I could have seen the Colts winning that game, but the only reason why I say that is because AR played in 5, maybe 6 games last year.
Right.
So last year was his rookie year. He's not a veteran quarterback with a whole bunch of experience. Their wide receiver core is still kind of questionable, and JT just got back from injury. So it wasn't like they stay and see the best Colts team. That definitely wasn't the best version of the Colts, but they still played a good solid team. Now, my week 1 most impressive teams, I got 2 teams for week 1. First, I got the Saints. Now, everybody can say that's a little biased because that's my team, but I'm going to break it to you why I got the Saints. 1, we beat the Panthers 47-10. Now, you can say what you want about the Panthers. A lot of people knew that they was the worst team in football, but a lot of people was not saying that all off season. I heard that the Saints was going to finish last in the division. I heard that we didn't have a chance to win the division at all. That it was between ATL, who lost to the Steelers, by the way, Steelers team led by Justin Fields that ain't scored a touchdown.
Led by Mike Tomlin. Always. Always.
But yeah, so I heard it was between ATL and Baker Mayfield and the Bucks that was going to win the division. I heard that we wasn't it. Derek Carr wasn't the answer at quarterback. He couldn't perform in big moments, regular moments he couldn't perform. Excuse my language. But yeah. But yeah, I just heard that we wasn't going to be nothing all offseason. I heard that the Panthers was new and improved. They improved their wide receiver room by trading for Deontay Johnson, which exactly. I heard that Bryce Young was going to be better because he can't be no worse than what he was last year. Okay. And what happened? They went out there and we destroyed them 47-10. It was also a lot of people talking about our coach. I also criticized our coach, Dennis Allen. But you know what he did this offseason that shocked me? He went out and made a franchise a job saving move, I would say, on his part by hiring the offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak. That man changed our life in one offseason. The way we ran our offense last week, I have not seen us run offense like that in years. The way we was able to run the ball using pre-snap motions and just a lot of movement in the backfield. And then we was able to have 4 different people running the ball, getting a whole bunch of yards. You got AK that had 83 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 5.5 yards a carry. And then you had Jamal Williams who had 40 yards and a touchdown. You had Taysom Hill who had 35 yards on 7 yards a carry. Like, we was just able to do whatever we want on offense, and then in terms of us running the ball, that made it easier for Derek Carr to throw the ball. That opened up the passing game. You know, he had the deep bomb to Rashid Shaheed under pressure. I've never seen Derek Carr do that. In the Saints uniform,
not in the Saints jersey, for sure.
No, I don't care what he did to the Raiders. I care what he do in the Saints jersey. And I ain't never see him do that in the Saints jersey. So, yeah, Clint Kubiak, thank you, because you are working wonders for this offense. And I think we're going to slow down. Obviously, we're not going to score 47 every week, and then we got Dallas coming up. We're definitely going to slow down. I don't think that we're not an elite team. Let me start there. We're not an elite team. We're a playoff team, though. And I've heard a lot of people say that we're not a playoff team, that we're a top 5 pick in the draft team, and no. That's been shut down week 1.
Top 5 is crazy. I feel like people that saying y'all not a playoff team, considering who they feel like made the biggest improvements in the offseason, it's not outlandish, but I feel like y'all division is in a similar sense of like the NFC West or with the AFC. I think that's the AFC North, whereas like the Bengals, the Steelers, like anybody can compete.
In that division, but
but like y'all competing to whoever win 9-10 games is going to the
division and going to be in the playoffs.
The Saints can do that.
And I know we can do that. And then I also think depending on if we make the playoffs, I think we might be able to sneak out the first round.
Yeah, because like, NFC is not that impressive.
Yeah, like the Bucks did last year. So yeah, we definitely gonna see. But my second team that was most impressive was the 49ers.
Oh, right.
Now, I'm not a 49ers fan. I don't really care for the 49ers, but I got to be honest. From what I seen them do with no C-Mac and basically no Brandon Ayuk, because he was there, but he wasn't there. He had 5 targets, but only 2 catches. Exactly. Like, so what? Exactly. And a drop touchdown. You did all this hooping and hollering all offseason to go out there and put that up. But anyways, with them 2 missing in the lineup essentially, and then, you know, Trent Williams basically missing the whole offseason, him holding out for a new deal. And then they supposed to be going against this vaunted Jets defense that everybody keeps saying is this and this. You know, A-Rod is back. This Jets team was supposed to be dominant. Right. They was not dominant. They got dominated.
They did.
So I was definitely impressed with what the 49ers was able to do. That and the fact that they lost the bowl last year and how they lost it, and then coming out and that's game number 1 and y'all do that. Yeah, I was impressed for sure.
Okay. I hear that. Like that's another situation where I feel like the stats is not cute. It don't tell the whole story of the game. I do think that like that was a great team win. Brock didn't look impressive. The receivers didn't look impressive. A-Rod didn't look terrible, but he did look like A-Rod.
He did.
So it's like
outside of that, I would say 1.5 drives. Yeah. Outside of that 1.5 drives.
I don't really know what to credit in that, and I'm not gonna lie that your second impressive team is gonna be Dallas, and
that's
that's also like what went into my choosing the Texans because of the teams that I felt like dominated this week. They dominated teams that they were supposed to. So let's see what John got to say about who he feel like was the most impressive team.
Let's got a call and go
see
ahead.
If he answer. Here we go with the Blitz.
On the answer, I do want to add this in for the Saints because I'm definitely surprised by what we did and I'm impressed by what we did. But I also want to say I don't want to get too high on the Saints because I did see two things that I'm still worried about. One, even though the offensive line looked great, is because they wasn't going up against a vaunted, like come on, they wasn't going up against a great pass rush, and then we was able to run the ball well. And so they didn't really have to hold up too much when it came to blocking. So our offensive line, I think they ranked top 2 for the week, but I'm still concerned about that. I need to see how our offensive line look moving forward. And then I'm also concerned with, this is year 3. Derek Carr and Chris Olave should not be getting off to a slow start together in year 3.
11 yards.
Come on, bro.
11 yards.
2 targets, 2 catches for 11 yards. And I'm not exactly.
3 touchdowns.
Nah, one of them was the Chris Olave. We hit eight different people caught passes from us.
And that's kind of how you separate. And a situation like this, again, it's the Panthers, so okay. Mm-hmm. But even still, I feel like in the first 2 touchdowns that he threw, you setting the tone. So before it get to the blowout stage, there should already be an understanding of, like, no matter what happens, I'm going to make sure my guy get his touches. Exactly. And that's kind of what separates the elite quarterbacks from the...
Because he not even.
I don't know what the level. I don't know what the level is before Derek Carr, but it's a couple levels between elite and Derek Carr. Yes, that's part of why Derek Carr is where Derek Carr is. Sure, dog.
The guys.
You on air? We need your yeah. We need your opinions, your takes. What was the most impressive team week 1? Let me hear it.
Most impressive team week 1. There you probably when we met, but it was Jay Herbo and them boys.
Oh my god, Jay Herbo and them boys. That's crazy. Let me hear. Let me hear about it.
It's the Jim Harbaugh era. That's honestly the main reason why I think it was the most impressive team. So you already know you have a rock star quarterback, at least in my opinion. Mm-hmm. A rock star quarterback, and defense and coaching has been holding back a little bit. And if I watched the majority of the game. And throughout the course of the game, they did something that we've never really seen them do, is make adjustments. Mm-hmm. Okay, they were kind of tied in the first half, but then in the second half, they outscored the Raiders, I believe, a field goal to like 13 points. The run game was popping, which Jay Herbo has honestly never had since he's been there. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins had 10 carries for 135 yards and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And then you think about how they've been building their team. It's looking like they hit on the left tackle and the wide receiver. Joe Alt played a great game. He was matched up with Max Crosby a lot of time. I believe if I remember correctly, he gave up in his pass protection. He didn't give up pressure to him. And Max Crosby is a premier edge rusher. I think we all agree on that. And the wide receiver, he scored on the quick. I believe it was a crosser. Gave it to him. He shake and bake, got to the end zone. And also Quentin Johnson looked a lot better. We already know he was Butterfingers last year, but he had 3 catches, 40 yards, and he looked good. So I gotta say, the Chargers was probably my most impressive team. So it's a new day in LA. Jim Harbaugh.
Okay, so I just got one question for you.
Yes, sir.
My thing is, okay, I hear everything you're saying about how they look, them being able to run the ball, Jim Harbaugh, et cetera, but are you impressed with them because of how they beat the Raiders, or because of what you think they can do as a team?
I think both. So you look at across the league, like, I'm not sure what y'all said, but most like impressive wins, you had the Saints over the Panthers. Mm-hmm. Like you say, the comp is the Raiders.
So yeah, I had the Saints and I had the 49ers for most impressive team.
49ers. Yeah, Saints. The comp was the Panthers. They played the Panthers, beat up on them. Panthers stink. And then the 49ers. I was kind of swinging the 49ers, but the only reason I didn't swing their way is just because of them being an already not perfect team, but they're already a fantastic team. So we kind of expect them to win. It's very impressive against the Jets defense, like a top 5 defense. But I kind of lean the Chargers way for both how they looked against the Raiders and how their outlook for the season. Because I feel like me, I was fairly impressed because I feel like they can probably win 10 games. I think they can win 10 games. Mm-hmm. And it was the most drastic change in how the game looked from last season to this season. Last season, Last season they lost to the Raiders by like 40. That's number one. And then number two, every game they played, they one didn't have no run game, and two, we will all look at the games or look at the summaries and be like, yo, why did they make adjustments? This year they made adjustments and they look like a very well coached team that can be successful moving forward in this offseason the moves they made. So that's really why I say that.
So
there was a lot of teams that impressed, but like I said, most impressive. They was my most impressive because of expectations, how it looked, and also winning they got.
Once you explain your reasoning, I'm not mad at the pick. I feel like if I'm making a list, the Chargers going my honorable mention again just because of who they're playing. Mm-hmm. I think that ain't they in the same division?
With KC? Yeah. You got them, KC, you got the Broncos and the Raiders.
The Broncos, okay. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like the Chargers right now are the second best team in the division, and that's by default because they have the second best quarterback in the division. And that's also by default because the other two quarterbacks are a backup quarterback that's starting and a rookie that probably shouldn't be on the field yet. So it's like they also have the second best coach in the division. So it's like when you go across the board, considering what assets the Chargers have, I do agree that it's going to be a new era, a new culture. But they can win 10 games and that means nothing. They win 10 games this year, they still don't make the playoffs because there's going to be stronger divisions where the number 2 wins more than 10 games. Also, like you said, considering the firepower that they were going up against in this game, it's like, okay, y'all looked good, like you said, against the Raiders. But when y'all see the rest of the AFC, when y'all see anybody in the AFC North, like Jay Herbert looked like a different quarterback in terms of he looked more poised and like, again, like what we talked about with Josh earlier, I feel like Jay Herbert looked more free. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you see him overthinking stuff. That's a lot of times when he turned the ball over. He looked more free in that aspect, but again, like it's going to get to a point where Gus Edwards being your number 1 or your number 2 running back is not enough, or Ladd McConkey being your number 1
your number
option
one,
is not, like
Ladd,
regardless
him being
of how,
your number 1 wide receiver now.
That's what I'm saying. Regardless of how textbook football they're playing or how good they're playing under a well-coached system. Yeah, they impressed week 1. They played the Raiders.
And we going to end it there.